So I remember one of the first times that I ever saw a monk. I was watching an interview with His Holiness the Dalai Lama back when I was still a lay person and didn't really know much about Buddhism. And this interview, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, just so incredibly at ease and so incredibly happy. He was so happy that he was kind of giggling, and I had this feeling that he's like kind of like a cup that's so filled with water that it just starts overflowing. And I had this feeling like, he was just so filled with happiness and ease that he just couldn't contain it. It was like overflowing into this kind of giggling, and I was just really blown away by that, because up until that point I had never really seen anyone who was truly happy before, and I didn't know that you could be that happy. And having seen that, myself being incredibly unhappy at that point, I felt like I would just like to spend my life trying to find the same thing that he's found. And many years later, then becoming a monk and going to Thailand, I remember going to pay respects to Lumpur Liam, the abbot of Wat Pah Pong, and on this one occasion we were just sitting there, large group of monks, and not really much was going on. Just some kind of casual conversation between the senior monk and Lumpur Liam. And I was just kind of watching Lumpur Liam, and it just really suddenly hit me like, this is the happiest person I've ever seen. He is just so completely at ease and just so completely enjoying himself, in that moment, even though there's nothing special going on, nothing to be excited about. Most people would have been quite bored in that situation, but he was just so thoroughly enjoying himself that it is, it's quite amazing. I really was blown away by that. And I've always felt like this is the real, one of the real gifts that the great masters give to us, is that they show us that it's possible to be happy. They show us it's possible to overcome our suffering. They show us what the results of the practice actually look like. They show us that it's possible to actually realize those results. Sometimes we might have doubts about that, kind of look within ourselves and maybe many of the people that we live with and practice with. Maybe we have a lot of difficulties that we struggle with, and it seems like it's maybe really impossible to get anywhere in the practice. But these, great beings, great masters, they're really, an incredible example to the world, and I've always felt like that's their greatest gift that they give to the world, is their example. And Ajahn Jayasara had this, very beautiful simile for describing Lumpur Cha. He said like all of the monks, all of the practitioners, living around Lumpur Cha were like people who were lost out at sea, in the dark night, struggling just to survive and find their way. And Lumpur Cha was like a lighthouse on the shore, guiding everyone to safety. And I've always felt like that's an incredibly beautiful simile. And it's really all of the great masters, they're showing us through their example, they're showing us the way to safety, and they're showing us the way home, so that no matter how lost we become in our practice, we might feel that we're kind of drifting and very difficult sometimes for us even to survive in the practice, but we can always look to our teachers and the great spiritual beings of the world as as an example of something to aspire to. Even in the darkness, they're always constantly putting forth this example, and if we just try our best to emulate them, we continue to try to correct our behavior, we continue to change our course. If we're drifting off somewhere, we just try to change our course to come more in line with them. Then, in the end, we can't really get too lost. And in the end, if we really keep trying, there has to come a time when we eventually reach that shore as well. So offer that for reflection this morning.